Sublight. It was a ridiculous concept. The upper races had long since bypassed it through their natural connection to the wellspring, allowing the manipulation of extra-dimensional energies to bridge gaps in the void. Mages, spirit speakers, aura users, the names differed, and the rituals varied, but the end effects were the same. What further compounded the confusion was that a speed limit even existed. With spatial slips, splits, and disjunctions readily available, no one would ever expend the incredible energies needed to get anywhere close to C, not to mention a lack of study in physics. Why bother when thaumatology was the answer? Thus, when an errant realm-hopping journey stumbled into a mannerless universe, the discovery of intelligent life in it upended theories old enough to be considered laws. An entire species capable of an intergalactic civilization without an ounce of magic. Every journey was made through the void, time stretching endlessly along their paths. This was the world that Han arrived in. The first days of hectic research, fumbling diplomacy, and cultural exchange has since passed. As everyone settled into their specific niches, Han chose to explore an untouched avenue, a long-distance sublight journey. His escort was Delta, one of the proportionately few pure humans that inhabited the dimension. Those that still kept their biology often augmented it with artificial parts. And as Delta chattered on, even they were still a minority. Though when you really run the numbers, most of our population is digital, Data said, leaning back in his cushy chair, its grey blending with the monochrome of the shuttle. Either inhabiting machine bodies in real space, or, more likely, living it up in a simulated reality. So, golems. Golems and spirits. Han posited, trying to reconcile the vast differences in civilizations long since divergent. The sterile air of the shuttle didn't help his focus either, with even Delta smelling unusually clean to Han's sensitive nose. I think that would be the closest comparison. Perhaps if this trip proves valuable to you and your academies, we can meet again to discuss it. Agreed, Han nodded. I'm sure that with the size of your civilization, there will always be opportunities for cultural study. Speaking of... you're right. Sorry, hard to stop once I get going. We should be just arriving now. With an invisible command, the shuttle walls turned transparent, revealing the monster outside. It swallowed up most of Han's field of view, with only the faint outline of its unfathomably long, eerie, tapered form, visible thanks to an array of blinking lights covering its body. For Han, it was impossible to tell how large it was. There was simply no comparison beyond... a world? Indeed. Behold the Babel Spire, one of many world ships, and our ride to the next galaxy. I wanted to keep it a surprise, showboating and all that. Han sat in silence as the world ship swallowed them. Of course, he had heard of the planned voyage and its ship ahead of time. He had heard of the false worlds built by this civilization, ranging from city-sized personal residences to the golem spirit realms mentioned by Delta. But knowledge did not equal understanding. Come on, Delta beckoned, undoing his harness. There's a lot to see before we depart. It seemed that there was still more to learn. A week had passed. According to Delta, that should have been enough time for Han to get a rough sense of the facilities. It was not. I think I'm going to need months. No, years to get familiar with this world. Ha, Delta laughed. I'll wager you need 10 times that. Though there's no need to worry, you'll have more than enough opportunity to not only search every nook and cranny, but to become a proper expert. Would he? Surely Delta was joking. Just how long could this voyage be? Hey, Delta? I know you've got questions, but we need to get you ready for departure. Once we're cruising, I'll be happy to answer them all. And I hope you can show me some magic, even if your supply is limited out here. Han nodded. Delta was right. It would be rude to delay the departure of the uncountable other lives on this world, just for Han to get an answer to something that, frankly, he was responsible for not already knowing. And besides, Han had already prepared himself for a long voyage. The funding for the journey let him spend many wonderful months with family and friends. His youngest children had just started to live on their own, and culturally, Han's race was well acquainted with individuals going on extended pilgrimages. Before Han left, his eldest daughter had just finished her own cultural pilgrimage of 3 years, exploring the development of an avian world's cuisine. Han licked his lips and let out a soft chuckle. Perhaps he could dedicate some of his own time to culinary exploration. Not too much, of course. It would be rude to one-up his own daughter's journey, even more so as its completion allowed her to be accepted as an adult. Best to keep the results to himself. A decade, then. Worst case, 2 decades. Rare, certainly, but not unheard of. Why, there were even some that would dedicate 5 to 10 decades to deep philosophical pilgrimages. Han couldn't imagine devoting 1/4 of his life to a single journey, much less 2/4. His thoughts were interrupted by Delta, showing him into a cramped, bright white room. In its center was what looked to be a long hexagonal chamber, its clear front open wide, beckoning Han forwards. "All right, Han," Delta said, clapping his hands together. "If you can strip down to the undersuit we provided for you and hop on inside, we'll get you ready for the trip." "I'm unclear," Han replied, removing his outer layers and gear before shuffling into the cushioned chamber. Just what kind of preparations does this entail? It was starting to feel more like a coffin. "Don't worry, it's all routine. I'll be right behind you." Delta sealed the lid shut, turning to begin his muffled work. "You haven't been on one of these voyages before, and you're a different species, so there's some extra groundwork that needs to be done. Nothing we can't handle, though. Take slow, deep breaths, please." "What specifically, though?" Han continued between breaths. Sleep started to creep into his mind. "Right now, I'm gently putting you under. You'll fall asleep and feel no pain. After that, some restructuring surgeries to protect against radiation and general decay, provide life extension, and to prepare the body for stasis. That way you can more easily slip into and out of long sleep." Long sleep? Concern. "Oh, long sleep is just slang for stasis-supported slumber. Gives you the option to skip part or all of a journey like this. Since you've got research to do, I've scheduled you and I to wake up partway through. Once you're satisfied, we can head back under." "How long?" Panic. But Han could no longer muster the strength to retaliate. "One moment, seems like you've got some extra adrenaline in you. No worries, I was nervous my first time too. I'll give you a little more anesthetic." "How long?" "Just relax." "How long?" "Take deep breaths." "How long?" "And settle in for the next 10,000 years."